Hi, I'm Liv, and today we will be talking about The Ranger's Apprentice, The Ruins of Gorland. It is the first book in the series. There are 10 books, and before we continue, I suggest that you go read them all. So anyways, Will is an orphan. He grows up in the ward at Castle Redmont in the Kingdom of Ireland. Will has no memory of his parents, so he just creates this little story that his father was a knight and fought in a war that happened a while back, but died in that war, and his mother died in childbirth. So, every year, when a child comes of age in the ward, there is this choosing day. And it's basically wards of age get chosen to join a craft. Like, they get to cook, they get to work with horses, um, scribes, diplomats, that sort of thing. So, but this time was different. Will got chosen to be a ranger, one of the 50 rangers of Arlen that are currently active in duty. So he is training with Holt to become a ranger, and Holt is not really the warmest person, and for half the book he just calls Will boy. So around the middle of the book, Will gets his first trial. So there's this day, Will gets off, and so do all the other, like, castle wards and everything. It's sort of like a holiday. And it's like this big festival, and all of the castle wards, which are Will and his friends, Jenny, Alice, George, and his childhood enemy, Horace. They all meet up and are gonna hang out, and Jenny, who got taken into Master Chubb's domain, which is cooking, had made pies, which were already legendary in the kingdom by that time. And Horace got there a little late, and he thought that all the other people had eaten the pies, all of his friends. So he got a little upset. And he tried to fight Will, his childhood enemy. Will, who has been training to be a ranger, knows how to fight at this point. He hadn't before. And so he fights back. But Horace doesn't really like that and goes after George instead. George, not ready for the attack, gets pushed over and knocks into Will's horse, Tug. Tug then rears up, and Horace notices the horse and insults it. Will's like, don't do that. It's my horse. And Horace then tries to ride Tug and basically steal him. And Tug bucks him off, and he goes flying. Will and all the others laugh as Horace falls in the dirt. And then a brawl breaks out between Horace and Will. But Master Rodney, who trains the knights, which Horace is studying to be one, separates them, and they both get in trouble. That is basically the first test Will has in his ranger training, is self-control. The next test is at the ranger gathering. So basically, all the rangers and their apprentices gather at a place in Ireland. The place changes every year. But this is where the apprentices get tested. So basically, it's like an end of the year test for them. And if they do enough, like if they do well enough, they become actual rangers. If they've had enough training and enough years of doing well on their tests. So Will and Holt go to the gathering together, but they meet Gillian, Halt's old apprentice, by a very interesting way. So, Gillian tries to sneak up on Halt, with Will hiding in the bushes nearby, and Gillian conveniently forgets about Will and thinks he's caught Halt, but then remembers Will's there as Will shoots an arrow nearby as like a warning shot, saying he's there. So that's a little silly. So at the ranger gathering, we find that there is this army massing in the mountains of the Rain and Night by Lord Morgrath. So basically, Lord Morgrath, like 20 years ago, decided to try and take over Ireland. He failed and was sentenced in exile to the mountains of Rain and Night, where he found these creatures called Borgles. So he's just been training them and massing them in an army. But there were also rumors of the Kolkara, which are these fearsome creatures. They're basically animal assassins. But they're semi-smart, and they do things for payment of, like, gold and silver. And the Kolkara were released from the mountains of Rain and Night, and have been killing off people in Ireland that were previously very helpful in the war. And so people think that Morgrath is going to strike again very soon. So Will and Halt decide to go after the Kolkara with Gillian. It leads them out into the plains, where they've been tracking them for, like, a week. They find their tracks turning back and facing them. And they're heading back towards the ruins of Gorlan, the title of the book. Halt decides to meet them there and sends Will to go get reinforcements. Will takes Tug and Gillian's horse too, and he goes to fetch Baron Arnold of Castle Redmont and Sir Rodney. So, Will, Baron Arnold, and Sir Rodney ride out to go help Will and Gillian face the Kolkara. But Will has a shocking revelation. That he thinks the Kolkara's next target is Halt himself, instead of King Duncan or Baron Arnold. So basically, Will is very, very nervous and scared that Halt is going to be the next target and is going to get himself killed. So they all hurry and they find a battlefield. They find one of the Kolkara with arrows in its chest, standing by a giant bonfire, which they assume Halt made. It's like 12 arrows in its chest, shot from close range, which is really impressive because later on we learn that the Kolkara was only about 15 meters away when Halt started shooting. So, Will stands back while Sir Rodney and Baron Arnold face the Kolkara, which has powers, basically. Its eyes are so hypnotic that it can freeze you with fear, paralyzing you. And if you look into its eyes long enough, you can die because of it. They also have bear-like claws, which is not good. And they also have very, very matted hair, which is basically like an armor. So, Baron Arnold and Sir Rodney decide to try and fight the creature with a spear and giant battle axe, along with broadswords. So that doesn't necessarily go as planned, and Will has to make a fire arrow and shoots it directly at the Kalkara, which then sets it on fire, and it also falls back into the giant bonfire. It is engulfed in flames and lets out a piercing scream. So Holt, hearing the scream, who had been hiding in the ruins, comes running with the other Kalkara hot on his tail. That Kalkara had been searching for him ever since Holt had shot at it. So basically, what had happened is Holt had made the bonfire after he saw the Kalkara double back, and he thought, oh no, maybe they're coming after me. So he made a stand at the ruins of Gorlan. Like I said, he made a giant bonfire, waited for them to come into view, and he was standing far away from the bonfire, so they charged him. He got off about 15 arrows at one, but the other chased him. They smashed his bow, which he was using, and so he ran. He managed to hide in this little section of the ruins while one was chasing him and the other one was basically standing by the bonfire, nursing its wounds. So, but back to present time for the book. Holt started running at Will and Baron Arnold and Sir Rodney with the Kalkara hot in his tail. He leapt off a wall that he was running on, and the Kalkara chased him and sort of leapt and bounded after him. But in the end, that one got defeated too. And so, yeah. It's basically an action book and a family book. I would not really suggest it for people under the age of 11, just because there's some scary, thrilling parts that might give you nightmares. But all in all, it's a good book. I'd suggest it. It's 8 out of 10. This has been Liv, and I have been talking about this book by John Flanagan. Bye!